In the vast halls of the Intergalactic Academy, where the most advanced species in the universe gathered to sharpen their minds, Professor Xyron stood before his class. His elongated form, clad in ceremonial robes, gave him an air of authority as his voice resonated through the amphitheater. The final challenge of this course, he announced, is to design the ultimate weapon. A creation so effective, so powerful, that it could shift the balance of war itself. A murmur spread through the students. The Crothar warriors, towering brutes with armored hides, exchanged knowing grins. The Velzon, masters of stealth, whispered among themselves, already devising silent assassinations. The Draxians, their crystalline brains processing tactical possibilities, calculated high-yield destruction. And then there was Jack Carter, the lone human. Jack leaned back in his seat, arms crossed. Unlike the others, he wasn't grinning, whispering, or calculating mass casualties. He was thinking. Professor Xyron continued, "You have one standard cycle to complete your designs. The winner's creation will be submitted to the Galactic War Council for real-world application." The stakes were high. This wasn't just an academic exercise, it was a chance to define warfare across the galaxy. The Crothar were the first to react. One pounded his chest and declared, "A warhammer that harnesses the force of a collapsing star." The others nodded in approval. The Velzon leader smirked. "Too crude. A microscopic drone that infiltrates the bloodstream and detonates in the heart. Silent, unavoidable, lethal." A Draxian spoke next. "An orbital cannon, preemptively eliminating threats before they strike." All eyes turned to Jack. Silence. Finally, Xyron asked, "And what about you, human?" Jack tapped his fingers on the desk. "I don't think you need another weapon." The room erupted in laughter. The Crothar scoffed. "Then why are you here?" Jack met their gazes evenly. "Because what you want isn't what you need." Professor Xyron observed him curiously. "Explain." Jack shrugged. "Give me the same time as everyone else. I'll show you." The professor nodded slowly. "Very well. You all have one cycle. Let us see whose vision will shape the future of war." As the others rushed to the weapons lab, refining their instruments of destruction, Jack stood and walked away, not to build a weapon, but to build something better. The demonstrations began. One by one, students presented their weapons, each display more devastating than the last. The Crothar warrior stepped forward first, gripping his warhammer. With a single swing, it struck the reinforced test platform, unleashing a gravitational shockwave. The impact shattered the target, sent debris flying, and left a crater in the floor. The spectators murmured in approval. The Velzon followed, releasing their microscopic assassin drones. The test subject, a fully armored combat drone, stood motionless as the tiny machines infiltrated its systems. A second later, the drone collapsed, its internal circuits fried, its defenses bypassed without a trace. Then came the Draxians. Their orbital cannon locked onto a moving target miles away. With a pulse of light, the target disappeared in an instant, vaporized before it could react. The precision was terrifying. Professor Xyron nodded in recognition. "All impressive." He turned. "Carter, your turn." Jack stepped forward, setting his device on the table. No heavy artillery, no glowing energy cores, no ominous hum of destruction. Just a small, unassuming tool. Silence. The Crothar scoffed. That is your weapon." Jack picked it up, pressing a button. A blade extended, cutting cleanly through reinforced metal. Another press, and the blade retracted, replaced by a welding torch. He adjusted the settings. Now it disrupted electronics, shutting down a nearby drone instantly. With another tap, it deployed an energy shield, deflecting an incoming projectile from one of the Velzon. He flipped it again, and the device became a medical applicator, sealing a simulated wound on the test dummy. "It's not a weapon," Jack said. "It's every tool you need, exactly when you need it." The room was still. Professor Xyron studied him carefully. "Explain." Jack held up the device. "Your weapons destroy. That's all they do. But what if you could do more?" What if, instead of killing an enemy, you could disable their weapons, sabotage their defenses, heal your own soldiers, and repair your technology, all with one device? The other students shifted uncomfortably. No one had considered this. The Crowthar growled. A true warrior doesn't need tricks. They need strength. Jack shook his head. A true warrior wins. If I can stop the fight before it starts, I already have. Professor X. Wyron said nothing. He simply nodded, deep in thought.